Hey everyone, welcome to another video. In this one, we're going to talk about support and resistance lines. A very simple strategy to, make trades and navigate yourself around and make day trades. Now, support and resistance lines are actually pretty simple, yet there's a lot of mistakes that are made around them, which is very important to avoid if you want to become successful with them. Now, one of the things I want you to know is that you can use support and resistance with other indicators. For example, EMA and MA, which we talked about in the previous video, they work very well if you actually use them with support and resistance. Okay, so what is a support or resistance? A support or resistance are basically areas of the volume or price action where people just realize that maybe that stock is overbought or oversold, and they start going against the direction, and it turns the stock. Okay, it turns the price. For example, let's say a stock, let's go to the chart here. Let's say the stock is going down here, right? Take a look. So the market opened, it went up, and then just like this, it goes down. So the moment it hits here, let's actually go zoom in a little bit. So the moment it hits here, take a look, this area. The moment this area is hit, people start buying. So the volume essentially goes up, right? Take a look again. People buy because the stock was going down. Now it's going back up, right? So this is where people start buying. And that is essentially when you see a resistance or a support line. So this essentially means that, the support line, this means that, there is a support line. This essentially means that there's a support line, and this is an area where a lot of people bought. It's a very simple thing, really, but it actually is very powerful. And again, if you use it correctly, it can be very, very powerful, and it can give you a lot of good knowledge. Now, one of the mistakes that people make is that they think that it is actually pretty hard for a support or resistance to break. So this is a support, right? So this is a support line, meaning that the stock went down, a lot of people bought, and there's a huge volume. But there's a huge volume here potentially, and it pushes the stock up. Very simple stuff. But one of the things is that a lot of people confuse this. The reason for this is that, let's say there is a resistance. Take a look. This is the resistance. So this is the resistance, right? Do you see this? So this is the time of the market where the market was open, the stock went up, right? And just it got rejected here. Or actually another resistance would be right here. Take a look. Right here. So this is very interesting, because one of the things that you want to understand about support and resistance, a lot of people think that they actually are supposed to hold the stock within that range, but in reality, it actually is quite different. Support lines, okay, they actually act completely opposite, in my opinion. When a stock hits a support line, there's a high chance that that stock is going to fall right below it. Okay, because again, support line is essentially a time where people bought, and on the way, people get nervous. Okay, when a stock is going down, let's say you bought it at 12, it goes to 13, you're still holding, and on its way down, if it goes back to 12, you might get nervous and you might actually start selling. So essentially what happens is that when you see a stock go up, okay, when you see a stock go up like this, and again, it goes back down, on the way, for essentially in this area, is when a lot of people get stressed, and they might actually sell it because they see a downtrend, right? And sometimes, again, this doesn't hit the support line, sometimes it does. But again, one of the things you want to remember is that these things are all psychological, okay? And for example, let's look at the resistance line here. This is a buy block, meaning that a lot of people ended up buying in this area, right? So a lot of people ended up buying there, and that, or actually selling, essentially, that pushed the price down, right? And if this happened on the way down, sometimes when you see pickups like this, people start getting into the stock again because they realize that they've made a mistake, and they pushes their stock up, Okay, so again, I want you to understand these things, because a lot of people just think that, oh, a support line is there if the stock, if it either is not going to pass, or if it does, it's just going to like fall through. But again, it's just very important to understand that there is a lot of psychology going on between these two, like support and resistance lines, and you need to understand them correctly. And one of the things is that, and this is why I always tell you guys that trade a single or a few assets that you understand very well. When you actually do this, you actually get familiar with their support and resistance line, because different assets react differently when they get close to their support and resistance lines. Okay, so they act differently, and you actually, if you understand it correctly, you can use it to yourself. For example, one of the things about I've learned about T-triple-Q is that when it gets close to its support line, it tends to just fall a little bit below it. Okay, it tends to fall a little bit below it. Like for example, if the support is here, it tends to fall a little bit, but then it recovers back. Okay, same thing for its actually resistance. If it hits the resistance, it falls below it. Let's see, where is it? Let me just grab my, there you go. It falls below it, like it goes right below, and then it just goes back down. So again, it is a very like complicated thing to explain, but again, when you trade a single stock for a long time, you understand it better, and you can just really start nailing down these like support and resistance plays that happen, and like, you know, you can trade much better than anyone else. That's why I always say trade a single stock. So one of the things you can do, the way you use this in your trade, is very simple. You essentially just you know, when you see a support or resistance, you just draw it. Okay, and you just wait for it to hit. For example, if I was drawing before the pre-market, or in the pre-market, I was just like, it would be like this. So I was like, okay, the moment we hit the support or the resistance and we go above it, that's where we enter. And you know, if you can actually use all of these indicators together, here's why. So I say, hey, you know, I have EMA and MA, and the EMA is right above the MA, so that is my first signal, and my second signal would be that we hit the resistance. Okay, and this is where I would buy. The moment we hit the resistance, I would buy, and we just kind of write this. Okay, and if I would write this until the end of the day, we would go to 78 cents from the, what, let's say I would buy right here after from 11. So that would be a nice trade. The point I'm trying to make is that, guys, you can use all of these to just understand the price action better, and support and resistance lines are actually a couple of them that are very powerful.